My father was born in 1897. There were the three boys, and when the oldest one got married and left, that's when my father got recruited, and he went to work full-time at the age of 12. My father only completed the 5th grade. My father went to work in a slaughterhouse, sweeping the sawdust. Then he started driving the truck, and then he's delivering the beef. And then he became a salesman, and that's what he did. And then he managed meat companies. My grandfather on my mother's side was Frank Mix. Frank Mix came with Juliana Guzman. They left Bremen, Germany, 1886 or 1885. They came to San Francisco in 1888 or 1887. It was 2 years later. There were 8 children born, 2 died. Mary was born in 1887. Rose was born in 1889. Amanda was born in 1892. In 1895, 3 years later, was Teresa, and 1899 was Pauline, and my mother was 1902. There were 2 houses.
Okay.
There was a shack. They called it the nigger shack. The baby would be in the bedroom with the parents, and all the other girls were in the other bedroom. If you can imagine, 3 in 1 double bed. They were really poor. My mother had 2 dresses to her name made out of flour sacks when she was growing up. They lived in that house. And then he died. Just at that time, the business was doing really good. They built a house in the front. My mother went into the city to go to Heels Business College to become a secretary. My mother was engaged to a Mormon, and he'd given her a diamond. This is the diamond. She never gave the diamond back to the guy.
So Grandpa used that ring? Used that diamond?
Yes. Well, they got married in San Francisco. My mother was really feisty. She loved dancing, and my father didn't like to dance, and my father had a fit that she was dancing with these other guys at these dances. They separated a lot and came back together. My mother ran home to her mother. My father went to work for Santa Cruz Meat Company, and that's why they came to San Jose. My mother got the idea that she wanted to buy a lot, and they decided on Willow Glen. I was born in 1936, and they bought the lot for $600, and they built that house. It was done in 1938. I moved in when I was 2. There was no stress at home when I was growing up. They had worked it all out.
They worked it out.
Yeah. There was no, they didn't argue. There was no, I can't say there was any stress. My mother just ran everything. My father was good-natured and fun. You know, he used to dress up, and he would put these hats on and come down the hall. And he was really funny. We would just be hysterical laughing. My mother and I laughing at him, how he would prance down. He was real funny. I smoked my first cigarette when I was probably 6. I stole his cigarettes and a match, and I thought, well, what does this taste like? Well, it was horrible. Everybody pulled together in the Second World War. Everybody did. My mother went to work at Westvaco war plant, and so they asked if I could live over there, and Mun would take care of me. I would be there during the week, and I went to school in the 2nd grade over there. And then on the weekend, my father would come to pick me up. And I didn't want to go home because I loved living over there. Auntie Mun was just so calm. You know, normal for me was that somebody needed to be mad, you know, and there needed to be a fight. And I mean, what was this that nobody was, you know? So I thought, well, I got to find out if she's ever going to be mad or angry or anything. And I couldn't figure out how to do it. She wasn't rising to the occasion. But I figured out she loved her housework. And she had just mopped the kitchen floor. And I walked all over the floor. And she got furious. She shooed me out with the broom out the back door. And I thought, I don't have to do that anymore. And I never did it again. My mother and I fought every single day. Every day we fought. And I got a spanking every single day. Every day. I was locked in the yard for 2 weeks at a time if I went in the orchard. If I went in the orchard, she found one little grind. She wanted me in pink ruffled sunsuits. And I wanted to be in tennis shoes and jeans and climb trees and do everything. I was a total tomboy. I played with boys. I thought girls were totally silly and ridiculous. There were houses now being built where the orchard was. There was a house in back and it had a basement. I thought it'd be a good idea to make a swimming pool out of the basement. So we ran the water all night long. And I could hardly wait, you know, to come home and see how high the water was going to be. But guess who was at my house? Somebody from the juvenile authorities.
Oh my.
That she knew how to use her personality. Life could be a dream. Life could be a dream. Do, 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 shaboom. Life could be a dream. If I could take you up in paradise up above.
When I was a tomboy, I was a loner. I was a real loner kid. I didn't have girlfriends. I didn't have a lot of friends. People wanted to be friends with me, but I was kind of, I was friends with people in the neighborhood, but I wasn't necessarily at school. And I would go early and play kickball, you know, in sports and everything. I love sports. And then Stana, my friend Stana, she was very popular and always reached out to people. And one day, I was in the 7th grade. She said, "Would you like to come to lunch with us?" That was the first group of girls that I was connected to.
Maybe we'd be so fine. Oh, life could be a dream. Shaboom, if I could take you up in paradise up above. Shaboom, then tell me, darling, I'm the only one that you love. Life could be a dream. Sweetheart, hello, hello again. Shaboom, and hope we'll meet again. Boom, boom, boom.
Bomb ba bomb ba bomb ba bomb bomb ba bomb ba bomb for dang a dang dang for ding a dong ding blue moon moon blue moon dip 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 blue moon blue moon dip dip dip.
I had been going out with this guy and we just broke up. And so I was putting everything out that I was free if anybody has any. So Joan wanted to know if I wanted to go on this blind date with a friend of Dick Rowland's. I said, okay. We went to a basketball game, a Willow Glen High School basketball game. He was in college. He was in engineering and taking all those heavy-duty math classes. I thought he was really, really nice. And he is. He was a real nice guy. He was always courteous, opened the door for me, and he always was generous. And he was very handsome. He was really good-looking, and he had a really, really good car. The red Bel Air with the white stripe down the side, and it was a convertible. That car was on a thing going around in a circle in the Hills window down on First Street in San Carlos, and the windows were on both sides on the corner. It was the car. kind of like going out each week. But then I was also going out with other guys on the other night. I really liked going out with the other ones too. I don't think he knew that, but then he found out. So then when he found out, he asked me to go steady.
It's bright. Only you and you. Baby, let me be.
Grampy was a tough one. John had kind of prefaced me on him. He just loved intimidating people. And so they had me over for dinner. And he, in that booming voice, says, "What'd you say your name was, Rossi?" And I said, "No," I said, "it's Ross." And you know, I have a loud voice. And he never, that sealed our relationship. He liked me. I started San Jose State, and he was already there. He was, by that time, he's in his third year. And I pledged a sorority. Marilyn was the standards chairman for the house. She lived in the house, and so did Marcia. I never lived in the house. All my friends were getting married. Everybody was getting married. I got married in '56. We were married 5 months and I got pregnant. Let's see, Jeff was born in October, and I was sick every single day with him. I was in school and had to leave my business law class every single day to go throw up in the bathroom. I was sick with Julie, but it was entirely different. I was nauseated, and then I would hit a day and I would throw up all day long. I can hardly fit behind the steering wheel. I mean, the seat is back as far as it'll go. Everybody stares at me wherever I go. Dr. Whitaker just was examining. He says, "Well, have you had an x-ray?" And I said, "What's wrong?" And he said, "I'm getting 2 heartbeats." Well, we were having Judy and Bob over for bridge.
Were you in complete shock?
That night, your father made a pitcher of martini. So I go to see my doctor. I said, "I'm absolutely and totally miserable, and I'm due in 2 days." "Now, Mother," he said, "we want these babies to get as big as possible." I thought, you know what, buddy, these babies are big enough. And so I went immediately to the pharmacy and bought the castor oil. And then I went home, and Carmelita made me a drink. It was just a little drink.
Yeah.
And I went home, and at 5 o'clock I took the castor oil with orange juice, and my water broke at 7. Somebody decided, let's get a bridge group together. We would meet monthly in each other's houses. Yeah. And that's when I would hear about the cabin at the river with Marilyn. They invited us to come. Can you imagine anybody inviting anybody with 4 kids to go anywhere? And so that's what cemented that. We did everything, together. We played bridge, we went out to dinner, and we went everywhere. We used to play these inner clubs and play different clubs all up and down the peninsula and everything. And that was one of the times when we weren't number one. We had lost to Jerry Andrews and Sharon Barrett. And so they were playing number 1, and we were playing number 2. Well, we got Kiki and Wiggy. 2 two little midgets. Two midgets that had gray hair. They looked like they were ready for retirement. And they got every single ball back and just garbage balls. And they didn't even look like tennis players. You know, it was so irritating. We're now in the third set. Marcia had finally had it, and she says, I cannot do this anymore. I said, we are not losing to these two. And so anyway, we beat them finally in the third set, and when we got inside, we found out they hadn't lost a match in 7 years. I felt I had a really good life. You know, all you guys were in school, and I was playing tennis, and having a lot of fun playing tennis, and you know, the house was nice, everything was good, but there was something in me that said, there's more to this, there's more to life. Now in the meantime, Marcia, she's looking into astrology, and we're all talking about, you know, what's beyond or whatever, and it was really between Joanne and Marcia and myself, kind of. Then I started exploring like reincarnation. And then I got into numerology.
Old tree, I'll stay on the bus, forget about us, put the blame on me.
So it was my mother and father's wedding anniversary, May 2nd. And your father had left. He left. And so he had suggested, why don't you take a motorcycle ride? So I took a motorcycle ride. I'm coming down Hicks Avenue, and I come to Dry Creek Road. And I have to make a right turn, you know. And I clipped the rear, just the back part of the car that it got my leg. I flipped over Norris Hill's station wagon. Norris Hill says, Mrs. Cowden! So we went to Kaiser, and Norris Hill was driving. They were Christian. I always knew they were different. So see, I was being watched over.
On a good bridge and bay, till we grew into me and you. Jesus, Jesus, Jesus.
When we moved to Sonora, the Jehovah's Witnesses came to the door. So they met every week with me. And then when we moved back to San Jose, those people in Sonora connected me with Jehovah's Witnesses here. But the person that came to my door here was very confusing. And I eventually got to the point where I didn't even answer the door anymore. In the meantime, Charlotte Mercerel, girls counselor at your father's school, and she was a Christian. I went to my first Bible study in a home on Blossom Hill Road, and I finally knew this was what I was looking for. But Charlotte got us to go to PBC, so we drove up to PBC every Sunday, sat in like the third row where Ray Stedman was in Romans. What a great book, you know, a foundational book for you to be in. Anyway, I ended up going to 5 Bible studies per week while I was in school. I started San Jose State, and I went for a year and a half, and then I didn't know what to do. I worked in the Hallmark store, and then I went into real estate for a year. The Lord brought Penny in. She was a Christian. So Penny said, well, there's a Christian program from Azusa Pacific out in Los Gatos. and I did that for 2 years. I graduated in 84. Then I was an intern, but I was also being paid as a rehab counselor. Then by like 87 was my first exam. So I continued to keep taking it every 6 months. You could take it every 6 months. Finally, it gets to number 7. I never studied on that exam. I was shocked when the license came.